Wake up, babe. A new Hutch take just dropped. Can't wait to see this. The midterms are winnable. State and local races will be crucial as well. Tune out the usual nihilistic noise on social media. Register to vote. Maybe convince a family or member to do the same and show up in November. All right, let me just say this. I have not seen a single person who has said, don't vote. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I've curated my social media feed. But people are not saying don't vote. They're saying Democrats, you control the House. Fact. You control the Senate. Fact. You control the White House. Fact. Do something. Nobody is saying, let Republicans take power. My God. The point is that voting isn't enough. Voting isn't enough because we did that in 2020. And the Democrats, Joe Biden won't even call for removing the filibuster. If Joe Biden doesn't call for removing the filibuster, it doesn't matter how many of us vote. We're not winning 63 fucking seats in the Senate. It's not going to happen. It's not possible to happen. So we need Biden to come out and say, get rid of the filibuster. We need to have 51 votes to get rid of the filibuster. Do we have it? Who wants to keep the filibuster? Who wants to get rid of it? Nobody knows. We know that Sinema and Manchin are against it. Are they the only ones? I'll say it very simple. There was a take that I retweeted. Bluntly speaking, the GOP knows they can literally do whatever they want politically without any institutional pushback, while Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, Hoyer, and Clyburn are the national Democratic leadership. If they can win the game before that leadership dies, it's over. I say dies because I'm skeptical any of those listed will actually retire. Here it is, chat. Here's the take. The overnight switch from only Bernie bros would be dumb enough to think someone to the left of Joe Manchin could win in West Virginia to will simply win 60 Senate seats in the next 2 years to make abortion legal sure tells you how serious everyone's being. Let's get one thing clear. There is no universe in which Democrats win 60 seats in November. So if Democrats are saying they need a filibuster-proof majority to do anything, that means they're promising to do nothing. If Democrats are saying they need to abolish the filibuster before they'll do anything, then that means they're promising to do nothing because the people blocking abolition of the filibuster are Democrats. The only Senate seats likely to flip to Democrats are all moderate conservative seats. So best case scenario, Democrats expand the majority with another few conservative Democrats who will also block filibuster reform. Except there's John fucking Fetterman. John Fetterman in Pennsylvania. That's not enough. You need another. The logic of Dems think getting 63 senators in any election in the foreseeable future is more likely than Dem leadership convicting 2 corrupt politicians is honestly amazing. Scout in the real world. Republicans are in the minority right now. So it's in the Republicans' advantage to preserve the filibuster. Republicans are going to sit back and go, filibuster is very important. It's very important for us that we have the filibuster. And then when they get into power, they throw it out. How do I know that? Mitch McConnell said, we shouldn't appoint a Supreme Court judge in the presidential election year. We should allow the people to decide. And then when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died 8 days, a month before the election, he appointed her replacement 8 days before an election. And he laughed at everybody that said he was a hypocrite. He didn't even bother to respond. He just said, yeah, I'm doing it. And so the idea that Republicans are going to keep the filibuster for Democrats is dumb. I'm sorry for yelling. I'm just going to copy this guy. I'm just going to take this guy's tweet. I'm going to go to Hutch and I'm going to reply. That's all you need to say. Facebook is banning people who say they will mail abortion pills. A Facebook user and Motherbird both face consequences for posting about mailing abortion pills on Facebook on the same day the Supreme Court overturned protections offered by Roe v. Wade. What do you know, chat? Big tech is there to provide the panopticon and will ban you for doing civil disobedience. People for screaming voting blue is not enough. Democrats, we call you bluff, should be screaming, Democrats have never had enough. You stupid bitch, you're dumb as fuck. Barack Obama didn't have a 2-year supermajority. It was more like 4 months, and not even because a senator was out of commission. They went on vacation, man. And second of all, if that's true, then guess what? You're never going to get enough. Republicans exist, man. Your opponents exist. We have a majority, but you decided to arbitrarily raise it to a supermajority and then yell at people for not winning the supermajority. They just don't agree with you, man. Texas judge blocks enforcement of pro Roe v. Wade abortion ban. Clinics, lawyers. Yay, but that's not going to last. That's going to get overturned.
This is the Democrats' fault. They let this happen. I mean, look at the majority that Obama had in 2009. His first... Yeah.
Come here. Bitch! Why the fuck y'all lying? Oh, Barack Obama didn't have no fucking supermajority.
Yes, he did. He did. But Mike, it didn't last. He didn't have it, the supermajority, for that long, but he had it. He had it. Also, you know, maybe this whole keeping the filibuster thing is stupid, huh? Maybe you should be agreeing with her that the filibuster is unsurmountable. Yes, it's a blog. It's a blog coping about the fact that Obama should have gotten more done during his first 2 years. Because what did Obama do with his first year in office? He passed the Heritage Foundation right-wing healthcare plan, and he let Republicans drag out negotiation for over a year and then got 0 Republican votes and had to pass it in reconciliation anyway.
Y'all can make excuses all you motherfucking want, but you bitches can't rewrite history. A supermajority is having a filibuster-proof 60 or more Senate seats from one party to pass legislation without having votes from the other. Obama was elected in January 20th, 2009 with 58 Democrats. That ain't 60, bitch. He should have had 59, but the Republicans were contesting Al Franken in Minnesota. In April, a Republican senator by Arlen Specter switched parties to Democrats. That's 59. Still ain't 60. 1 month later, Senator Byrd from West Virginia was hospitalized and out on commission. So what the fuck that mean? Code 23, a pimp is down. July, Al Franken finally gets sworn in. But remember, Senator Byrd is still out on commission. Then in August, Ted Kennedy fucking dies. So what fucking majority are y'all?
He literally was there. He could vote. Literally it was there. Literally it was there. I don't know what to tell you, man. And they decided not to use it because they wanted Republican votes. The same thing they did with the infrastructure bill this time around. They spent a whole year negotiating with the Republicans to get Republican votes because they wanted to be bipartisan, because for some reason they think that matters, even though it has never mattered. Incredibly small brains.
Restatement.
Incredibly small brains. I literally said that I'm doing. Okay, I said the midterms are winnable. State and local races will be crucial as well. Tune out the usual nihilistic noise on social media. So to Hutch, it's nihilism to tell you the truth. It's nihilism to tell you the truth. I think it's more nihilistic to lie. I think it's more nihilistic to lie to people. I think that's nihilism. I think that's cynicism. I think telling you the truth is the opposite of nihilism. It's radical optimism. Because I think if you know the truth, we'll come up with an actual plan that'll work. And guess what? His plan will never work. Why? Because you're never putting pressure on Democratic politicians. With my plan, you elect Democratic politicians that will get rid of the filibuster, that will point blank promise things and then deliver them, and won't sit on their fucking asses. His plan, Democratic politicians never do anything, and they have excuses forever. My plan, maybe we win, maybe we lose, but at least it's honest. And I show you a path that's plausible that we could actually win. And show me the path to 60 plus pro-choice Senate votes. You won't even attempt it because it's impossible. How many Dem senators currently support getting rid of the filibuster? No one actually knows. Biden also refuses to support getting rid of it. Those are the facts. Telling the truth equals nihilism. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. I honest to God don't understand his brain. I don't get his brain. Does he really think I want the Republicans to win? I want AOC and John Fetterman to take over the party. I want Nancy Pelosi to retire or die from natural causes, chat. I want Joe Biden to not run again. I want actual leaders who are going to use the power of the offices that they are entrusted. I am not a radical anti-electoralist. Quite frankly, I'm the opposite. I'm too pro-Democrat, quite frankly. With my life experiences, I should be anti-electoral completely. It will not move off this idea you don't get everything. How about you get something? My face with people thinking one election will get their agenda passed. Meanwhile, the Republican base is diligently voting and working consistently for the last 50 years. They're the minority, motherfucker! The Democrats had the ability to do it and they don't. I don't know what to tell you, man. Whispers of Hillary Clinton 2024 have started. Of course. All right, let's watch this.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. As a result of Friday's Supreme Court ruling from the court's Trump-selected right-wing majority, abortion is now completely banned in 7 states, and bans are forthcoming in around a dozen more. We're already hearing just heart-wrenching stories of clinics being shut down, pregnant women unable to access abortions. It's the most significant step back in terms of individual rights in recent memory. And we should be clear about one thing. The U.S. is, for better or for worse, a two-party system, and the responsibility for the end of abortion rights in this country lies entirely with one of those parties.
Okay. I mean, obviously that's true. Obviously it's true that the Republicans are the ones who got rid of abortion rights. But morally, the Democrats are also responsible because they had power and they did not use it. They have not codified Roe v. Wade. They have not exercised the power. So when they have power, they have broken their promises. When Republicans have power, they have kept their promises. So yeah, Republicans having power is bad. But the status of women is the responsibility of the people in power. And that's the Democrats, man. And you can't unlink the two.
The reason this came about is that the Republican Party has committed itself full force for the past half century to overturning much of the broad civil rights revolution progress of the last 60 years, but specifically overturning Roe as their number one target. Republican presidential appointees have basically controlled the Supreme Court since the Nixon administration, with the help, of course, of the Electoral College.
That's right, chat. The last time we had a left of center Supreme Court is 1969. I want you to let that roll around in your head for a second. The last time the United States of America had a left of center court was 1969. Nixon himself, until Joe Biden had an appointment this year, Nixon himself appointed more Supreme Court judges than all Democratic presidents since 1970. I'll say that again. Richard Nixon appointed more Supreme Court justices than all Democratic presidents since 1970. The Democrats have been getting owned in the Supreme Court for so long, I've never been alive when they weren't.
Which helps them win elections while losing the popular vote. But for decades, they were unable to attain their goal of actually overturning Roe. It was not until 1992 when the court weakened but didn't overturn the right to an abortion in Planned Parenthood versus Casey. The Republican Party and the conservative movement, evangelicals, became fully radicalized in the goal. That was the justification for the religious rights deal with Donald Trump. Trump was very obviously not a religious man. He had previously been quite outspoken about being publicly pro-choice, not to mention the many, many allegations of sexual misconduct against him. Just listen to him attempt to cite scripture at the religious university at Liberty with the now infamous 2 Corinthians gaffe.
Here it is, chat. If you don't believe me, here's someone else tweeting it. The last day on which a majority of SCOTUS justices has been appointed by Democratic presidents was May 14th, 1969. The next 11 justices and 13 of the next 15 were appointed by Republican presidents, even though Democrats have won 6 of 13 presidential elections since then. It's so odd that since the 70s, the Republicans just seem to appoint all the Supreme Court justices. We don't need to have a problem. There's no problem here. No need to change anything. Leave it the same.
I hear this is a major theme right here, but 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole.
2 Corinthians? I mean, he's never even read a Bible verse in his entire life. How are you an adult man in America with an Ivy League education and you can't even explain a Bible verse? Jesus Christ.
Ball game. Where the Spirit of the Lord, right? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And here there is Liberty College, but Liberty University. But it is so true. You know, when you think, and that's really, is that the one? Is that the one you like? I think that's the one you like because I loved it.
Is that the one you like? It's 2 Corinthians, not 2, but none of that mattered, obviously. Evangelicals, conservative Catholics, establishment Republicans like Mitch McConnell, they all supported Trump. They all, lockstep together, stole Merrick Garland's seat on the Supreme Court. They all closed ranks behind Brett Kavanaugh after he was accused quite publicly and memorably of sexual assault. And then they forced through Amy Coney Barrett's nomination just days before a presidential election. And all of that was precisely to get us to this moment. The twice impeached Donald Trump, who lost the popular vote both times he ran, appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. He single-handedly shifted the court far enough to the right it could finally undo abortion rights in this country. So, the Republican Party is why we are here. The new Trump court made its intentions known over the past year. And if you needed another sign this was happening, I mean, a draft of the actual decision itself leaked for the first time in modern history. So no one can say they didn't know this was coming. Now the question is, for the other party, the Democrats, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do next? Democratic Party leadership shouldn't sugarcoat it, pretend there's a magic wand they can wave to reverse this terrible decision. There isn't. But they do need to articulate a plan to fight back. And right now, I got to say, that is shockingly absent. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's first reaction was not a detailed plan to respond to something we knew was coming. It was to read a poem, among other things. House Majority Whip Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina called, somewhat infamously, the decision, quote, anticlimactic.
These are the people you empowered. MSNBC basically spent, right after Bernie Sanders won Nevada in a landslide, MSNBC turned into a Jim Clyburn is the wise man who will tell us what to do. Oh, he picked Biden? Well, Biden is the only electable candidate. You got what you wished for.
Even President Joe Biden's response, which was, a national televised address, ultimately amounted to go vote, which massively undersells the immediate urgency of the current state of affairs.
Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. This fall, we must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again.
Now, again, that's a clear, concrete path forward, right? Federal legislation to codify Roe, and the president is correct. Democrats don't currently have the votes to override a filibuster and codify abortion protections in law, and they are lacking 2 votes to get a filibuster carve-out, right? So, again, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, James Clyburn, all those people, they are correct. Electing more Democrats is absolutely necessary, though not sufficient, to accomplish that goal. But again, just telling people to vote as the sole guidance when your party already controls both chambers of Congress and the White House, it just can't be enough. It's not enough. Especially because, let's be honest here, and I don't want to get too dark, but it is what it is. There's no reason to believe this Supreme Court would let a legislative version of Roe stand. I think a big part of the problem...
Couple of things here. First, I will say this. I think that they're probably right about that, but so what? Make them overturn the codification. Respond to their bill with a law. Use your power. Force them to be a rogue Supreme Court. Don't just go, well, they'll be rogue, so we can't do anything, and disempower yourself and be a loser. If you're fighting back with all your strength, people are going to come in and join you when you get W's on the board, like codifying Roe. You can't sit back and go, well, we'll lose anyway.
There's a disconnect right now between, I think, leadership and the most sort of mobilized members of the progressive Democratic Party. The older generations of politicians who right now are Democratic Party leadership have lived through the most impactful expansion of rights in modern American history. I mean, the expansion of the Social Safety Net, Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and then the series of landmark Supreme Court cases, beginning with Brown v. Board, but really in the Warren Court, that expanded contraceptive rights, abortion rights, civil rights, gay rights. So it's not crazy that it feels like Democratic leaders kind of take these victories as the cornerstone of their civic faith. That deep in their bones, they feel that over time things improve, even when it's hard, even when things look bleak, that everything will eventually sort of work out if you trust the institutions, trust the court. But the thing is, and I'm overgeneralizing here, I think younger people on the left and center left see a much more acute threat. A threat posed by this reactionary movement, this rogue Supreme Court, to the very foundation of American democracy, because there is no coasting in this moment. No trust the process, no faith in our institutions to save us. Our institutions keep producing terrifyingly bad outcomes. It's not just a generational divide, but there is a big generational divide. It's a generational divide that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez articulated yesterday.
I think that it does speak to a generational change within the Democratic Party. I believe that there is an establishment within the Democratic Party that has a nostalgia for a better time of politics from decades ago. You hear this very often when you hear certain Democrats say that they wished for a strong Republican Party. But the fact of the matter is that we have a new and very different Republican Party that more people are recognizing. But frankly, the roots of which have already been there, which is a lack of respect for American institutions, a lack of respect for the law, and a deep desire to debase very, very critical underpinnings of our democracy. And so I do believe that there has been a weak democratic strategy in the past, and we cannot continue to use those same playbooks.
Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, along with others in her party, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who we had on the program last week, among a bunch of others, right, have been on the front lines of the Democratic response to this decision, channeling the outrage, demanding that this time the response must be different. AOC, for her part, offered a number of practical solutions or concrete actions in the short term on Twitter, including expanding the number of seats in the Supreme Court, yes, but also increasing access to at-home abortion pills, or attempting to repeal the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal funds for paying for abortion, expanding abortion clinics on native and federal land, which people have talked about doing. But again, you could argue about the specifics. Some of those there's not the votes for, some of them might be bad on the policy merits. But the most important thing is to propose things, right? I mean, this is what Ocasio-Cortez says. Democrats need to try. And again, if there's one hope for the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party doesn't matter as much as just the broad center-left majority of the country, right? The one small silver lining in the aftermath of this unbelievable catastrophe, it is a catastrophe, is that the country is behind them. There are more of them than there are of the opposition. A majority of Americans, nearly 60%, oppose overturning Roe. Go up to Americans and ask them, do they think a raped 14-year-old should be forced to carry her rapist child to term, which is the law of the land and will be in more and more states? And they will tell you no by large majorities. Democrats need to harness that. They need to make sure the party that has brought that state of affairs to be, and this is not an abstraction, to be clear here. There are 14-year-olds around this country right now who will be encountering that. They exist. It's not a thought experiment. Democrats need to make the party that brought this state of affairs about to own it, to not live it down. You have the majority. You have public opinion on your side. You have the wind on your back, and you better use it to make them pay for this, for supporting this hideous decision every chance you get.
But the thing is, the Democrats are built, the people that are in power in the Democratic Party are built for one purpose: to defuse your anger. Not to use it to produce outcomes, but they're a shock absorber. That's it. That's it. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap